So all these people are talking about TikTok, right? And, China and censorship and all that, and like TikTok spying on people. But I don't, well, I've got a TikTok account. I've just created a TikTok account and I haven't put anything on it, right? But I joined it to message someone, right? Just to send someone a message because I couldn't contact them on any other platform. Now, I'm in actual disbelief at the moment. There's a lot of people using TikTok for campaign group stuff, like Stop the ULEZ and things like that. So they're definitely using it, and they're definitely doing quite dramatic things on TikTok. I've watched a few videos on there, and there's all kinds of silly things on there which are kind of stupid, and lots of shopping mall stuff and just really weird, odd, peculiar stuff, which I don't particularly find tasteful at all. I mean, I don't like a lot of the stuff on TikTok, but some of the people that I'm in other groups with on Facebook and YouTube, right, use it. So occasionally I go on TikTok just to watch a video. For example, like Claire Dyer's going to be on TikTok, right? But a lot of her stuff that she posts for Stop ULEZ, I'm in disbelief with after this, right, that it's even on there. So I sent a message to this person, right, because they're not on any other platform. And there was nothing offensive in there, provocative or obscene. I literally sent a normal human message, right, and asked them a question, right, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. And then immediately when I pressed the send button, right, it said, this message has been flagged for inappropriate content or something wrong with it. And I'm like, what? I was in absolute disbelief. And then, so there was a little option to disagree with them, right, to disagree with the decision. So I was like, well, of course I disagree. I haven't actually done anything wrong. Even in China, when they're meant to have all these extra rules and policies, there can't be anything wrong with what I put, right? It was just basically a hello greeting message and asking them a question if they could do something, right? And there was actually nothing wrong with it at all, right? And so, like, I waited a couple of days. I've just gone back on, and there's a message saying, the restrictions on your account have been restored. I'm like, restrictions? What restrictions? I haven't uploaded anything to TikTok. I haven't any content on there. I haven't even got one photo, right? I've just got a profile. And I sent another member a message which had absolutely nothing wrong in the message at all, right? Nothing. And they deleted the message, and apparently that applied restrictions to my account. But what restrictions? Because I haven't done anything wrong. I sent someone a message to say hello, and they've actually agreed with my appeal, right? This restriction, my account's not restricted anymore. It's been unrestricted. But how can it be restricted? I haven't done anything yet, right? But where's the message? They've agreed with me and restored my account, but the message isn't there. So if they agreed with my appeal, where's the message, right? The message is vanished. It's gone. Poof. It's gone into thin air. There is no message now. So they flagged a message, which was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm not allowed to talk to other people, apparently, right? I mean, kind of like on eBay, you're not allowed to, discuss certain things with sellers, right? Because it could break the policy. Not even like anything like that, It literally was, there was nothing wrong with this message under any policy you can think of, right? And it's gone, they've stolen it. They've stolen the message, right? They've stolen the message. So I'm like, well, I can't remember what I put exactly fully, right? But I know I know generally what I put, but I'm not writing that message out again, right? So, and then it's quite difficult to find how you raise one of these support tickets, right? But I found a video on there when you can raise a support ticket. So I've actually complained to them and said, where's my message? You've stolen my message. I just sent a communication to someone, like an email, and they've stolen it. They've actually stolen the message, right? So I'm like, where's my message? Can you put the message back, please? Like, you've stolen my mail, right? Now, immediately after this incident, I'm like, okay, now I can see why the Americans have got concerned with TikTok, or someone's got concern with TikTok, right? All of the issues and concerns with TikTok that have been mentioned in the press and media have been apparently around spying, Chinese spyware and all this. Actually, you're not even allowed to talk to anyone on there or say anything. And I don't know what country standards it is for casual conversation, but that cannot have, that comment could have been put up on a primary school, right, on the fucking wall, right? And I just swore then, but I didn't swear in this comment, right? That message that I've put, right, to that person could be put up in a nursery school in England without any issue from the police or anyone, right? It could be put on a public notice board in the town centre. It could be put anywhere, right? There was absolutely nothing wrong with that message at all, right? So this Chinese point system and surveillance, I don't know what software they're using or AI for their messages, but it is scandalous, right? I'm in England, right? So I'm now thinking that the press are raising alarms for TikTok for the completely wrong things. They're raising alarms from TikTok for, spying and surveillance. Maybe that's what they meant, on the messages. But even if they are using spying and surveillance, right, how they're using it to censor what you say, I just can't believe that any of these English campaign groups that are, putting videos of protests and incidents and scuffles with the police and things like that are actually, people have got entire TikTok channels out of it, though, in England. And I'm in actually disbelief that they're managing to do that compared to what just happened to me, right? So it's kind of ridiculous. Now, this is the thing. Can you imagine if China... right? If China's society and framework and government and politics was actually just we clicked our fingers now and it was the whole planet Earth, right? That was the standard. You wouldn't actually be able to email people, right? If you sent a Hotmail or a Gmail or a Outlook or, bt.com net or something, electronic mail to another person, they would be doing that type of, it will be blocked and poof, gone into the ether. So that's like when you write a letter to someone in the post office or something like that, right? Now, I got to say this now to Putin, right? I don't think Russia have got that bad yet. I don't think Russia are that bad yet because there's still some cool people in Russia, who are doing board sports, surfing, rock climbing, scuba diving, just normal people going about normal business, right? But when Putin is filmed with the red carpet rolled out on a plane to the Chinese guy and he's, putting his arm around him and patting him on the back and giving him a hug and that, I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Putin, what the actual fuck, right? If this is your plan, right? If this is your strategy from planet Earth, right? You aren't allowed to speak or send a letter in the post to another person unless you have permission, right? And it's checked by the government, right? Now, I don't even know what that Chinese guy's called, right? I don't even know his name, right? He's got the short, back and sides haircut, right? And Putin is, Putin's delusional, right? If Putin thinks that is a model for how a society can live, right? He's got to be delusional, right? And I don't know how any of the people in Russia can be like, hey, this is a good idea, right? At the moment, the pop songs in Russia that seem to be going around are all about being Russian, like I'm a Russian, like all these sort of Robbie Williams characters. Well, not Robbie Williams, but sort of like a cocktail between sort of like Take That and sort of like a Moshe band, right? They've got these like Take That Moshe band cocktail mixers, right? Russian guys like singing into a microphone with a rose going, hey, Russian girls, Russian girls, Russian girls, Russian, all this like your national anthem, right? But I mean, that Konstantin guy was Russian, but he fled to Tashkent, right? And he's got a massive YouTube channel, right? He was one of the people who fled Russia, right? When the conscribed people went to war, right? Mr. Putin you cannot be serious. Trump is actually behaving quite questionable now, right? There's a lot of Trump videos like when he's walling up, Starmer, or he's like dressed up as a gangster or whatever, right? And he's, I'm actually concerned about the Americans now, and I think Tucker Carlson, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. need to be concerned about the Americans, right? Because the way that Trump is posing now I actually could see it happening that actually we end up going to war with America if we don't agree with them, and they actually use their nuclear power to actually take over the planet Earth, because the way that Trump's posing himself now is like, I think everyone's just had a shock right when he did that to the other country. And I don't think that us alone, we haven't got the military power to back it up, right? So we need Australia to back us up, right? And currently Europe is like, Spectre Starmer with his United Nations ring thing, whatever it is, right? And I don't even know what the fucking Russia and Putin are doing, who's fucking side they're on, right? But we haven't actually, there aren't, it's the leaders of the countries who are our enemy now. We don't really have any, Tucker Carlson's not my enemy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not my enemy, people in normal Russian citizens aren't my enemy. German citizens aren't my enemy, Australian citizens aren't my enemy, right? But it's going to be the normal citizens of the world against the leaders, because it's the leaders and the big corporate business people like Larry Ellison, CIA, and Jeff Bezos now, who are... It's not just, Elon Musk is in the business of weapons, right? Drones that can be used for military purpose, intercepting satellites, Starlink and all that. We're into the area of Bond villains now, like Mark Zuckerberg, If you're a big businessman, you're not just a big businessman, right? The top businessmen, right? All the top businessmen around planet Earth, right? Jeff Bezos, Branson, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, they're not just businessmen. Have you noticed that, right? It's not just like, Francis Drake, or whatever, right? All of the top business people are involved in some sort of either military bunker because there's an imminent war possible, or some kind of weapons international thing, or mass drone manufacturing, Starlinks around planet Earth to cover the Earth with satellites which can be used for military purposes, and or getting themselves into space or something like that, right? So every single one of these mega business billionaires is like a Bond villain. They've got a lair, they've got high-tech computer surveillance, they've got minions like mini-me's, they've got like tattoos running around like little mini-me's, like, $1 billion, Mr. Bond. They've got weapons, guns, the man with the golden gun, they're in. So this is literally Goldfinger. Like when you're on the Goldfinger film, right? When you go into the fucking Goldfinger place and the pool table flips over and you've got all the plans underneath for taking over planet Earth, right? Who are the henchmen? Well, this is Mark Zuckerberg's there with his suit on. They're sat round Trump's table, right? You got Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos invited over, Tim Cook, right? Branson, all these people. These are, no, Mr. Solo. Oh, Mr. Solo's not in anymore. He'll have to disappear and have an accident. It's like fucking Charlie Kirk or whatever, right? No citizens of any country on this planet are our enemy, right? It is these people with all the money now, because they're in weapons with the government, right? It's the leaders who want the planet to be like this or that, right? They're arguing what the government and what the social regime is going to be for planet Earth, right? That's what they're arguing about now, right? And getting all the resources to do their shit, right? We want all the minerals to build all our stuff. No, you're having it. You're not, right? That's the argument. Normal people don't argue about that stuff. So it's these people, it's their fault, it's their war. When like Trump says, it's not my war, no, it's the war of anyone who wants oil, right? It's the war of anyone who wants to build weapons. It's the war of anyone who wants to build a Starlink. It's the war of anyone who wants to fucking build an underground nuclear bunker. It's the war of anyone who's into the business links of building nuclear weapons, satellites, and frickin' lasers, right? It's their war. It's a war of people who want to own digital mail, replace the normal postal system for letters, and tell you who you can or can't send a letter to, and what it can and can't say in a social, not business situation, potentially what girls you can and can't talk to, right? You can't talk to this woman, you can't talk to that woman, right? Now, Putin, right, has got a fucking problem, and that fucking, whatever he's called, Ming Dynasty guy, has got a fucking problem, right? Now, if you want, right, Ming to decide, right, Ming the Emperor, Ming the Merciless, right, can decide who you are allowed to send a letter, right, socially, and what he can and can't say, right? You know, like in a fucking supermarket and a woman walks past, right? You know, excuse me, woman, you know, and don't talk to her, you know, don't talk to anyone, right? Ming says who you can and can't talk to, right? We've got a fucking problem. Now, I know that Trump, right? I'm not accusing Donald Trump, right, of that strategy, right? I'm not accusing Trump of planning to have a model for planet Earth where, you know, the American government decides, you know, who you're allowed to send an email to and what it can and can't say, right? I'm not accusing Trump of that, right? But, right, I mean, you know, if the Americans decide to start, you know, World War III and they want the whole planet to be called the United States of fucking America, right? You know, just because they're the more powerful one, you know, I'm not saying that it's going to be any better off or worse than being under, you know, Ming's dynasty or not, right? But what I'm saying is, you know, how is it really, right, Donald Trump versus, you know, Putin and Ming's dynasty, Ming the Merciless, or Ming the Email-less, Ming the Mail-less. It's like, you know, if you're Ming the Merciless, right, it's like Ming the Mail-less. Where's my mail gone? Where's my fucking email gone? It's Ming the Mail-less. Where, you know, Ming the Mail-less, right? You know, and that's not a pun. Ming the Mail-less. Where's my mail gone? Where's my les gone? Ming the Mail-less, right? You know, the normal people of the world, right, are not at war with each other. It's these supervillains now because they want it to be under their rules, right? That's what the issue is. That's what the problem is. And you know, we've got people in England now who are cheering Trump, you know, like Shinny's like cheering Trump. He's like, yo, Trump, you know, it's like, I want to be an American citizen. It's like, Shinny's happy to be an American citizen. In Australia, you've got to have fucking ID, right, to do a fucking Google search, right? I don't know what's worse, having to prove who you are, right, just to search for something, right? But that's like looking through the phone book or looking, you know, are we going to have to, you used to have to have a library card, right, to go to the library. Are you going to have digital ID to read a book? Are all books going to have like a little padlock on them and you've got to scan your digital ID card on the cover of the book for it to open, right? To read it, right? You know, it's a book of law. You can't know that law, right? You know, or even a map, right? You know, or whatever, or a fucking novel, right? You know, are you going to have to, if it's like a fucking romance novel, right? You're going to have to scan it with your ID card like a kid, you know, so like the book will open, you know, like kids can't read this book, you know, this is for adults only, like it's a fucking thriller or whatever, like Stephen King book, right? Oh, kids can't open that book to read it, you know, like fucking on the cover, right? We've got fucking issues because that's the way Ming the fucking Mail-less is going, right? Now, Rand Paul, right, was saying, oh yeah, we're going to oppose digital ID and stuff like that. The Republicans, right, I've got a problem because there are some serious issues going on now with the future of this planet and what's going to happen, right? You know, I've realised now through TikTok that there are some serious concerns. I mean, I can't even believe, I won't mind, but there are some of these TikTok channels, right? And they've actually got quite questionable stuff on them anyway. So I just don't get it. Why would that message get flagged and deleted? You know, there's something seriously questionable going on here, right? And, you know, my very first experience at TikTok, right, other than just, you know, someone putting a TikTok video link on Facebook or someone putting a TikTok video link in YouTube. So, you know, I've got to open it and it says, oh, you're not a member. You can just about get away with watching the video without having to sign up, right? I signed up and the first thing I did was try to send someone a message and it flagged me for nothing. And then we said, oh, I had to appeal it. And then they said, oh, no, we're going to unrestrict you. Unrestrict me. I haven't actually done anything yet, right? And then, where's my message gone? You need my message, right? This is like Ming the Mail-less, right? Is there anything worse than Ming the Mail-less, right? This is Ming the Mail-less, right? Taking over planet Earth because you won't have any mail, right? You won't be able to send any mail or fucking receive any mail, right? Unless Ming the Mail-less fucking checks it and approves it, right? So we've got serious issues and Putin needs to really think about what the fuck he's doing because, like, I mean, you know, I mean, Santa won't be fucking coming to Russia soon, you know, with his Christmas list because Ming the Mail-less probably won't let you write to Santa Claus, right? Putin needs to really reconsider what the fuck he's doing with this BRICS thing, right? Because I think that it's, it's scam. I mean, look, how can a million, how can a million, windsurfers be wrong? We're just going windsurfing, right? How can a million people go? I'm quite surprised. How far they're going to go with this? Well, they're actually going far with this because, if you don't behave, apparently you're not allowed to use a train, right? It can't be right, this. So my first experience with TikTok is terrible. We've been like, but that's kind of like the way that the petitions committee is with our government in England at the moment, and their e-petitions policy is a load of tosh, and I'm calling them out on it now because apparently, like, it's effectively any reason or no reason, right? They don't even have to. It doesn't even have to follow the rules. It just follows established tradition. So then you look what established tradition is, and then you say that, well, actually, you can have it, but like they're trying to re-establish the tradition. They're trying to re-establish the tradition and new rules, which is completely ridiculous. But what right have they got to do that? And how are they doing it? But they're not even doing it through the law. They're doing it through a policy signed by two MPs, two people, just two persons who write it out, and then the whole country has to follow it. Well, we're going back to square one when it's like the king who makes the law up, and the people who are enforcing it aren't even elected, right? I'm not, Jamie Stone didn't write that policy, right? But he signed it. I would have refused to sign it, right? If I'd have been elected to Parliament, right, and they'd have, I'd have got voted into that petitions committee, I would have refused to sign that contract because it's not lawful. It's attempting to rewrite the entire history and tradition of England, defy the history records, and re-establish a new regime of total censorship, right? Utter censorship based on the whimsical opinion of a bunch of a team who aren't elected and two fucking MPs, right? And a committee, right? And what happened to that Cat Stevens in the committee? Oh, now she's on another committee, standards committee, right? These MPs, right, who the people elect, should not be signing contracts and policies. When a policy like that is presented to them, if they're acting on behalf of their constituents, they would say, I'm sorry, I'm not signing that. I can't sign that. Firstly, it's censorship. It's heavy, extremely undemocratic, heavy censorship. And it's not following the established traditions of this country or nation, right? So, I would refuse and protest against signing it, right? And every single day that policy continues, you're meant to be able to complain to Parliament about contempt, right? This is misconduct against petitioners. It is obstructing and hindering cases at law. And they don't even let you speak or confer to the other petitioners, right? A petition's a legal case to the government, like a civil or criminal case, but at a much higher level than the High Court, than the Supreme Court. It's higher than the Supreme Court, right? And you come together as a body, right? Now, I can't speak to any of those people. I can't talk to them. I don't know who their names are. I can't contact them. I'm being asked to sign a contract, a legal petition, which that's signing a contract. Never mind the chair of the petitions committee and leader of the House of Commons signing a policy, right? We're signing petitions, right? Now, we can't confer with each other. We can't message each other. We can't speak to each other, right, about that petition. And don't tell me, you can find loads of people who shared it in, Facebook groups or whatever. I'm talking about the actual list of persons who are signed to it, right? How do they deliberate? It's a legal action. It's a legal action. You can get solicitors and barristers to help you in legal actions to Parliament. Parliamentary agents. If it's refused, how do the body, the group, deliberate on their next course of action? Like, shall we try to do a paper petition, right? Let's all do that. Let's get a lawyer to help us, right? Literally, That e-petitions committee and service is a manifestation of what they would like the whole country to be, which is Ming the Mail-less, right? It's Ming the Mail-less, right? Exactly like the TikTok messages, poof, like gone, like that, right? Jamie Stone, right? And Alan Campbell, I think his name is, the leader of the House of Commons, whatever he's called, right? They need to stop this now. They need to get rid of this ridiculous policy and e-petition service that David Cameron, the traitor of the people, has put in place. Ridiculous policy. And Tony Blair, we're going to do you a favour now, right? We're going to build you an e-petitions platform. We're doing you a favour. We're helping you out. We're modernising, right? You forget about that stupid ancient paper petitions process. It's a load of rubbish. We've got this great new platform now. It's called TikTok. E-petitions. Well, no, do you mean like it's e-petitions in the guise of, Ming the Mail-less, right? This is the thing, right? So this is my complaint and grievance to the Chinese government, aka, our government, who's desperately, Keir Starmer, who's desperately anxious to become the Chinese government, and shake hands with Putin, but pretending to be at war. We'll have a little computer, get a little war game, right? Pretend war game. Hey, let's get the toy soldiers out and smash up Ukraine, Let's smash up Ukraine like a little toy soldiers kit, right? That'll shake everyone up, right? Which is, and we'll have all the immigrants come over to, tear the country to pieces and cause havoc, right? These Bond villains who are ruining the world. It is absolutely, completely and totally scandalous.